dreams. I once had a dream in which I dreamt that I was inside some kind of large building, and in the heart of that building, in the very center of the building, there was a fount. So there was something that came up out of the ground, and what poured out of it was oil. But it was not the oil that we know. It was not, refined oil that just flows in a liquid state. It was something I had never seen before. It was oil that was so thick and it was so pure that it came out almost like candle wax. So it was still able to flow, and it flowed up out of this fountain. And my job was to stand by that fountain and collect this oil and put it into small jars and hand it to people. So that's what I was doing. I would scoop up this oil because the process had to be kept pure. The process had to be kept very clean. All I saw myself doing in that dream repeatedly was scooping out oil as it came from that fountain, and I would put it into small jars, and I would seal just a small little vial, a tube basically, and I would seal it and I would give it to people, and people would go away taking that oil with them. And that was my job. And I saw that I did that job and did that job and did that job. And even when I became weary, I could not leave that fountain of oil. I could not leave. The word coming to my spirit now is just spigot. A spigot is almost like a faucet, a fountain, a tap. It is a place where a substance gushes forth. And I could not leave that place. I knew that if I decided to leave the place, to leave it unattended, to, God forbid, try to delegate the putting of that oil into the vials, the process would become corrupted. And so to those of you who have said, oh, Celestial, the burden looks a lot for you, and do you want us to type up some of the stuff for you? And I have typing experience, and maybe I could do this for you. And I've always replied no, because I had the understanding from long ago. God was showing me how the assignment would be, and it would be that it has to pass through my hands. I cannot write down these dreams and then say, can you type it up for me on the blog? The blog is sacred. It is not just a website. It is a sacred space where God's information that has come up through the fountain is being put into individual spigots. That's why each prophecy has a title. Each prophecy has a date. The date that matters on the prophecy is not the smaller date that you will see. Oh, published June 19, 2020, published April 22, 2022. That's not the date that matters. The date that matters is the large one next to the prophecy's name. That is the day the prophecy came. So even if you see a prophecy on the blog, published 2022, if the date on it says 2015, that is the date it went into my notebook. And as I'm working through the prophecies, the Lord tells me, publish this one in order. So even if that prophecy came from 2015, such as a lot of the Russian prophecies do, and they only come up in 2019, that is the time they were received. And so God was showing me that this precious fountain of oil is not to be corrupted, is not to be mixed with conspiracy theories, is not to be mixed with, oh, I thought this, is not to be mixed with my own thoughts. And that's why I clarified at the beginning of this work, stop asking me what I think. Celestial, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on this aspect? What are your thoughts on dispensationalism? This is not a place where you can do that. Nothing goes into this oil unless it will become a corrupted thing. And the next thing that it will do is corrupt you and destroy your faith. And that is why false prophets are so dangerous. And I have constantly said this. Go and read 2 Peter chapter 2 and see what wolves among the sheep do. See what they do to the faith of the believer. See what they do in the heart of even those who do not know God. They cause them to hate the God of our faith. False prophets with their false rapture dates and their false teaching and their false this is not true and that is not real. They cause outsiders to mock the faith. They cause them to mock the church. They cause them to mock the entire procedure of faith, which would have saved them. They stay away because of the lies and corruption in the church. So this bottling of this oil, I saw for as long as that oil was flowing, I was not going to be able to leave this work. So you're asking, Well, how long? As long as the oil of the Lord is flowing, as long as the Lord has a single word to say. I will be bottling it up. I will be putting a title on it. I will be putting the date on it, and it will be published as long as there is time and ability and grace to do so. And that is why it cannot be outsourced. This is not something that can be outsourced to anyone else, because this spigot called me, and the spigot is depending on me to carry on this bottling process and to keep it as sterile as possible so that it will not corrupt the end user when it comes.